And we're almost disappointed when it happens the way that we want it to happen, right? Which is that dude that went to Alabama is cold, right? Dude that went to Oklahoma is cold, which gets me into the Oklahoma segment of the show, because I was going to get to the Oklahoma segment of the show. So I wrote this piece on OUinsider.com that you should go read, basically getting at this idea that November is for Lincoln Riley. Since Lincoln Riley took over as the head coach of Oklahoma in 2017, the Sooners have never lost in the month of November, and they're off to a 1-0 start to begin this 2020 November. They're also undefeated in the Riley era against Kansas, Texas Tech, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Baylor. Their last 5 games are Texas Tech, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Baylor, West Virginia. They have 2 losses in the Big 12, which normally would mean that you're not playing for a Big 12 championship. But because the Big 12 continues to be just as trash as Oklahoma State beat Kansas State last week, 20-18. So they got 2 losses. Oklahoma State got the 1 loss against Texas. They play Oklahoma in 2 weeks. Iowa State's sitting there pretty, right? And yet they can still lose a game. But if Oklahoma were to beat Oklahoma State, they have the head-to-head against Oklahoma State, and they get in the Big 12 championship game against Iowa State with the return of Rhamondre Stevenson, who was missing half the season due to suspension and has basically become RB1 over the last 2 games, and Ronnie Perkins, who was one of your leading sack leaders last year. And then the second game he comes back, they go for 9 sacks at Kansas, albeit Kansas, tying a school record because Oklahoma just can't get 10 sacks, always just got to get 9. And they've got 20 sacks the last 4 games. They've got 26 in 7 games. And all of a sudden, the defense is not just coming together on the front end, but on the back end too. They got 6 interceptions, in the last 4 games. 2 against Texas, 2 against Texas Tech, 2 against Kansas. So when you need the defense, start figuring it out. When you need the offense to continue to produce with the run game, they do that. And then when Spencer Rattler and Austin Stogner get bone bruises that hamper them in the second half, so much so that Austin Stogner didn't play in the second half, Spencer Rattler was out there limping around, gimping around in the second half, that you get a bye week to prepare for the biggest and most tough schedule, or toughest team on your schedule in Oklahoma State. And Mike Gundy is stubborn, so he's going to keep throwing Spencer Sanders back there, who's going to keep putting the ball on the ground. Look, I looked up the stats for Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and I looked at Will Howard, who was replacing Skylar Thompson, who ran for more yards than he threw for, and he only threw for like 123. He still passed for more yards than Spencer Sanders. So that dude, coming off of like 340 against Texas, can't move the ball at all against Kansas and put the ball on the ground. Like, put Shane Illingworth in there, dog. Like, what are we doing? Why is he this stubborn? But you know what? I hope he's still this stubborn when they play Oklahoma at Owen Field on primetime on ABC 2 weeks from now, November 21st. Because that's going to be everything that Oklahoma wanted. It's just everything falls into place for OU in November. It's sickening if it wasn't so cool. Two losses, you go play the Big 12 championship game. Who does that in game regular season?
Oh, man, parity is a hell of a drug. It's the strength of the conference, baby. I absolutely need to see Iowa State continue to roll the rest of the conference and look at their one Sun Belt loss. That's what I...
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because that's my Coastal Carolina argument for making the playoff. If Coastal Carolina runs the table undefeated, wins Sun Belt championship, right? And it comes down to them and like a 2-loss Clemson, 1-loss Florida, 2-loss Florida, because they already lost to A&M. No, so they're not going to be there. Yeah. Oh, snap. So we're looking at Cincinnati, undefeated, or undefeated Coastal Carolina. BYU and Liberty, I'm just going to kick them to the side right quick. Coastal Carolina's going to be like, yo, we beat a Big 12 team. Kansas. We beat a Big 12 team. Kansas. Well, everybody else in our conference beat a Big 12 team. You know what? Damn it. You right. Like, ULL is ranked. They beat Iowa State. Yeah. Can't say they're not. Kansas State was going to play in the Big 12 championship. They beat Oklahoma. They got whooped by Arkansas State. Chanticleers, here's the 4th playoff spot. I'm so here for this. Like, let Coastal Carolina match up against the number 1 Alabama.
Oh, watch it be a slobber knocker. Watch it be something like 40-41, double OT. I'm not going to call who wins, but I want to see it.
Meanwhile, Oklahoma gets the bid to the Cotton Bowl New Year's 6. They get, let's say, ampersand U, right, in the Cotton Bowl. And then they run ampersand U 56-7. And you're not going to hear anything but Oklahoma fans saying, we should have been in the playoff this year. We didn't lose to a Sun Belt team. We lost to teams that lost to Sun Belt teams. And we ran roughshod over A&M. And then everybody's going to look at that and be like, yo, didn't Alabama beat A&M like 52-14, 52-17?
I mean, at that point, we could say our long-suffering college football nightmare is over and we can forget about it for the... if anybody catches feelings about this year, I'm not going to say I'll slap the taste out of their mouth, but I'll be very close.
No, and I want to finish on this point because, like, Bud Elliott actually brought this point up on Twitter, and it was, look, I think we know which teams are good and which teams are not, but what the hell does this season even mean? Like, how are we actually going to try to put this season into context with any other season at all? And, the lazy thing to do is going to be to throw it out altogether. You can't do that. Because college football in and of itself is weird. We were just talking about a Holiday Bowl deciding a national champion. What? On what planet? This one.
I mean, so do we go back to World War II? Is that what we do? We go back to the late 30s, early 40s?
Like, I try to take it back to the AP poll era, 1936, but even that, World War II happened. Right? And I keep running into, that dude played football at Iowa Pre-Flight. I'm like, was Iowa Pre-Flight good that year? And turns out they weren't bad that year, right? Like, that's what it is.